Hi, good day people. So welcome to our class. We are already in our week 2. I think week 2 of our discussion all about Psych 111 or General Psychology. Our topic right now is so interesting because our topic right now is Biopsychology. Now, these ways in which our bodies and minds work in relation to each other are quite remarkable. For example, sensation, perception, memory, and thinking are all psychological processes that have all at least partly biological basis. Biological psychologists, also called biopsychologists, study the ways in which behavior are linked to biological structures and processes. Kaya po, there are really times talaga, example, galit ka sa isang tao, you cause an emotion, there are times na maybe pipitik yung heartbeat mo, parang may word nga tayong nalalaman, di ba, na high blood, okay? Kaya nga talaga, our psychology, even our feelings, our something emotions, do have a relationship to our biology, and it is quite remarkable. So, saan ba to nangyayari itong biopsychology or yung kumbaga cycle na to? Of course, it came from our nervous system. The human nervous system is involved in dreaming, feeling, learning, memory, moving, and much more. It is working when we are active and still awake or asleep. It controls our internal functions and also involved in how we respond to external environment. So, dito po yun nangyayari. So, na merong dalawang parts yung nervous system. Una, central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system composed of brain and spinal cord, where the peripheral nervous system composed of the nerves. Okay, so we have here the neurons or the nerve cell called neurons run through the entire body and communicate with each other. Sila po yung, meron tayong tinatawag na sensory neurons, sila yung nagpapasa ng mga communicate ng mga information sa stimuli na nakuha natin sa environment natin. Now, neurons send and receive messages from other structure in the body such as muscles and glands. Now, this message can affect events ranging from step by step of a child to the writing of a poem. Each of us, more than 100 billion neurons, most of which are found on the brain. So, ito po yung neuron. So, dito po, nangyayari lahat ng, kumbaga, messaging part in terms of, ano ba yung ginagawa ng neuron? Every neuron consists of a body cell, cell body, dendrites, and axon. The cell body produces, ito yung cell body, ito po yun, cell body. The cell body produces energy that fuels activity of the cell. Branching out from the cell body are thin fibers called dendrites. So, ito yung dendrites. Ito yung mga galamay, kumbaga. Okay? While dendrites receive information, siya yung nag-receive kasi sensory kasi siya part from the other neurons and pass through the messages through the cell body. So, yung dendrites, napapasa dito, pinaprocess hanggang pinapasa na naman sa other neurons hanggang umabot ng brain. A neuron has many dendrites, but usually one axon. Ito lang yung daanan, parang yung tube. A mini axon covered with a myelin sheet, white fatty substance that insulates and protects the axon. So, ito po yun. Okay? Dito po yung nag-protect ng messages. Okay? So, messages are sent from the axon to the dendrites and neurons in order for the message to be sent from other neurons. At dyan po yung nangyayari. So, meron tayo dito sensory or efferent neurons. So, yung mga neurons nga na nakakasense. Okay? Are nerves that carry information received by the senses to the central nervous system. While we have motor or efferent neurons, on the other hand, are nerve cells that carry messages. Sila yung nagkikarry from the central nervous system to the muscles and glands that influence their functioning. Okay? So, magsasabi natin, paano to nangyayari itong mga parts na to? No? Ano to sila? Kumbaga, kung sa sasakyan pa, what fuels them? Diba? May sasakyan tayo, meron yung parts, yun yung mga neurons, mga parts, kumbaga ganon. And what fuels them is this called neurotransmitter. Now, researchers have identified several neurotransmitter. Each has its own structure and it fits into receptor site of the next neuron. Ito yung napufuel, kumbaga, similar to the way in which key fits into the lock relationship. So, ito yung mga parts na to, nangyayari to. The message is converted into electrical impulse that travels the length of the neuron. The messages is transmitted to the next neuron by the neurotransmitter. Okay? Siya yung napifuel kasi. The process continues until the message arrives at the destination, in which many cases in the brain. Now, ito naman, this whole process takes only a fraction of second kasi ang bilis nito. In a couple of seconds. So, Ano yung trabaho ng neurotransmitter? Okay, so meron tayo dito acetylcholine or muscle action or memory. Potential effect niya, arousal, enhance cognition, beta endorphin, pain and pleasure, potential effect, decrease anxiety, decrease tension, dopamine, mode sleeping. Sila yung gumagawa sa mga process na to. Mode sleeping, increased pleasure, GABA, brain function sleep, glutamate, and the like serotonin, moods, and sleep. Okay, so central nervous system, the brain and the spinal cord make up the central nervous system, while the peripheral nervous system, the nerve cells. Ito, the major area of the central nervous system is the human brain. It is composed of many parts that works together to organize our movements, create our thoughts, form our emotions, and produce our behavior. The hindbrain, ito. The hindbrain dito is the lower portion of the brain, is involved in many vital functions as heart and respiration. The midbrain, dito na part sa gitna, no? includes areas that are involved in vision and hearing. Okay, di ba dito na part talaga yung tenga. Nakikita natin. The forebrain, the front area of the brain, is involved in complex functions such as thought and emotions. Okay, so meron tayo dito parts of the brain, subparts, yung medulla oblongata and functions. In the hindbrain, we have three: medulla oblongata, pons, cerebellum. Medulla oblongata involved in vital functions such as heart rate, blood pressure, breathing, swallowing, and coughing. The pons relate to motor messages between cerebellum and motor cortex, exerts influence on sleep and dreaming. Cerebellum coordinates skill movements, regulate muscle tone and posture. We have the mind brain, has a reward or pleasure center. Dito po yung nangyayari yung kumbaga sarap ko, kumbaga sa utak pinaprocess. Arouse of food, money, attraction, faces, sex, and music. We have reticular formation, arouse system, arouses the forebrain or cerebral cortex. And of course, in the forebrain, we have thalamus, hypothalamus, amygdala, hippocampus, and cerebrum. Ano ba to sila? Thalamus relays on the between, no, station siya. Para kumbaga i-imagine natin terminal, cerebral cortex and lower brain centers. Hypothalamus, vital to regulation of body temperature, storage nutrients, motivation, emotion, hunger, thirst, sexual behavior, caring, offspring. Amygdala, play a role emotion. Hippocampus, involved in memory, and the like. Now, we have naman in lobes of the brain. The lobes of the brain are in the frontal, parietal, temporal, and occipital. The frontal lobe, ito dito, is located on the front of the brain, extended on back fissure known as central sulcus. The frontal lobe is involved in reasoning, motor control, emotion, and language. Kaya po sabi nila dito, pag malaki daw yung dito, baka matalino ka. Anyways, just kidding. Hindi naman yun lang na factor. It contains motor cortex, which involved in planning and coordinating movement. The prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for higher level. Prefrontal po, ito po dito. By the way, prefrontal, no? Prefrontal before the front. And the motor cortex, which is involved in planning and coordinating. The motor cortex. The prefrontal cortex is responsible for cognitive functioning. The Broca's area, which is essential for language production. Okay, the parietal lobe. Ito po, the parietal lobe. Dito na part, yung blue, is located immediately behind frontal lobe and is involved in information senses. It contains their somatosensory cortex, which is essential in processing information of the body, such as touch, temperature, and pain. And of course, we have temporal lobe, is located on the side, sa baba, dito, ito na part. The temporal lobe, side of the temporal means near the temples, and is associated to hearing. Dito kasi, diba, dito yung part yung tenga. Memory, emotion, and some aspects of language. Occipital lobe is located in the very back of the brain, contains primary visual cortex, which is responsible for interpreting incoming visual information. And in all of these things, no, paano ba ito nalaman natin? Kasi nga, meron tayong mga scanners dito, okay? Of course, we have CT scan, involves in taking number of x-rays. No, dito po nalalaman na yung tao may tumor. May mga CT scan tayo. PET scan, creates pictures of a living active brain. Ito po yun, living and active brain. May mga kulay-kulay talaga. Mga neurotransmitter kasi ang kulay na yan. A computer monitors movement, traces and creates roadmap active. Nalalaman mo kung active ba yung mind na brain. Dito nalalaman ng mga biopsychologists, ito na tao to, hindi siya active. Hindi, kumbaga parang may kulang dito sa part niya or baka disable. Ganon. We have the techniques involving magnetic fields naman, the MRI. a person is placed in a machine and generates a strong magnetic field. Magnetic field causes the hydrogen atoms to react or move. Diyan lang nakikita po. Functional magnetic resonance or fMRI operates in the same principle, but it shows brain activity over time by tracking blood flow of the oxygen. Okay? And we have the endocrine system. So, iyon, yung, kumbaga yun kasi neurotransmitter, it's like chemicals in the brain, in our body. Ito din, meron din tong isang parang, dito na part, yung endocrine system. Kasi yun, di ba, yung central nervous system, it's all about neurotransmitter. In endocrine system naman, we have here what we call is hormones. No, hormones, di ba, pag lumalaki nagiging puberty tayo, dyan yung nagre-react yung mga hormones. Hormones are involved in regulating all sorts of body functions. They are ultimately controlled through interaction between thalamus and central nervous system. The pituitary gland, ito dito, pituitary gland, okay, dito sa brain, dito na part, pituitary gland. The pituitary gland, glands in the endocrine system, okay, imbalances in hormones related to a number of disorders. We have here pituitary gland. This section explores some of the major glands make up endocrine hormones secrete this gland. So, meron tayo dito. Hormones dito, testosterone, progesterone sa babae naman dito. Adrenaline dito yung gumagana yung adrenaline natin. Dito na part din sa thyroid natin. Okay? So, major gland, pituitary gland descends from the thalamus, hypothalamus at the base of the brain and acts in close association with it. The pituitary is often referred to as master gland. Why? Because it is messenger of hormone controls and all other glands in the endocrine, although it mostly carries instruction from the hypothalamus. Of course, we have the thyroid gland. Isipin natin medyo sa neck na part, is located on the neck, releases hormones to regulate growth. Kaya di ba, yung mga lalaki pag may Adam's apple parang lumalaki na, metabolism, sa appetite kasi malapit yung sa paglunok natin. Okay? Adrenaline glands, it is stops of the kidney and secretes hormones involves stress. Kaya di ba pag na-stress tayo, gumagana yung adrenaline. Pancreas is an internal organ, secretes hormones that regulate blood, insulin and glucagon. Kaya nga may relation dyan yung diabetes. Okay? Gonads secretes sexual hormones. Sa babae, dun sa ovary, sa lalaki din sa testes. Okay? And of course, we move on to our chapter 4, growth and development. So, development, no? Man is a product of his nature and his nurture. Hindi lang tayo may katawan, nag-grow tayo in our environment. His development is controlled by the actions of both hereditary and environment. He grows and develops over time. And a development schedule known as maturation. Okay? Ano yung kaibahan niyan? Development is a systematic changes, orderly changes organism experiences as they live and either gain or lose abilities. Development should be confused with maturation, which refers to those changes in behavior so ito po yun, no? Okay? Yung development is all about changes on the experiences and the systematic, okay? Yung maturation, it's more about on behavior of an organism that can be traced directly in physical growth, okay? Development refers to the quality of your behavior. Maturation refers to the state of your body pala, okay? Okay, so yun. So parang wag nating ma-exchange. Heredity is defined as the transmission of traits from parents to offspring. Heredity gives human individual a similarity to other organisms, but also uniqueness. Chromosomes are thread-like bodies, and nucleus of the cell. Genes are some microscopic part of the chromosomes. Dominant gene is one whose characteristics will be dominant. So, sa lahat ng gene may dominant dyan sa'yo, paired with another. Example, lalaki ka man, maging babae ka. Recessive genes is whose characteristic will not be produced when it is paired with dominant gene. A normal male has Y chromosome and one X chromosomes, while a normal female has 2 X chromosomes. That is why the male genes alone determine characteristics of the sex cell itself. The gene, what is transmitted, the gene from the unbroken line of transmission from one generation through succeeding generations. What is transmitted by inheritance can be changed only by changes in genes known as mutation, nagmi-mutate. So in certain cases, no, mutant sex-like traits such as baldness, colorblindness, and the like. In certain cases, premarital development, monozygotic identical twins po. Yung twins naman pero hindi magkatulad, hindi identical, fraternal twins. So ito yung other aspects na saan tayo na-develop sa environment natin. We have external environment which include trees, no? Houses, internal environment which include fluids, blood, and social environment which include human beings and that influences us. Human traits and characteristics are completely determined through interaction or heredity, nature, and environment or nurture. We have here the maturation process. Ano yun? From time to time, ano yung proseso na dinadaanan natin? Maturation process follows orderly sequence. New structure and functions always appear in definite order so that a new development set a stage for the next in orderly course. Maturation proceeds along the physiological gradients. The organism develops in accordance with the cephalocaudal sequence from the head to the region to the feet, while kabaliktaran niya, no, proximodistal sequence. So, meron tayo ditong prenatal development. Ito yung pagkabata natin. Yung from the conception, naging zygote tayo, naging mitosis. Ito yung the process is called mitosis, yung pagdevelop ng zygote. Okay? And we have also embryo, yung naging embryo. Upon implantation, the cellular organism is called embryo. Placenta is a structure connected to the uterus that provides nourishment to the oxygen to the mother. Okay? I think it's all understood na sa bio 1 natin to. Fetal, nagiging fetus siya. Weeks 9 to 40. Hanggang sa na-develop, ito na yung nangyayari. By 9 weeks, ito ka pa, fetal, hanggang sa naging marunong ka ng makinig. Okay? Infancy naman, we move on to our infancy. So, pinanganak na tayo dito. Ito yung timbang natin. We have here what we call newborn reflexes or inborn automatic response to particular forms of stimulation. So, marunong na tayo dito magtamsak and the like. Okay? Marunong tayong maglakad siguro. And we develop motor skills, refers to our ability to move our bodies and manipulate objects. Marunong tayo yung maglakad, magapang. We have fine motor skills, focus on muscles in fingers, toes, eyes. We have gross motor skills on large muscle and control of our arms, legs, and ball. So we have here development milestone, age 2 to 5. So age 2 ka, marunong ka lang mag-kick ng ball, mag-play alongside with your friends cognitively. Pag 3 ka na, marunong ka lang mag-climb, place and make believe with toys. 4 catches balls and the like. 5 naman hoops and swings, counts to 10 na marunong magbilang. Maiba naman. And of course, we move on to our adolescence. No? Adolescence is a period of development that begins to puberty, no? And starts and ends in the emerging adulthood. No? Yun, naging binata ka na, yun yung tawag doon. Physical development ang magiging adulthood or adolescence. Several physical changes occur during puberty such as adrenarche and gonad arc, what do we call it, or the maturing of the adrenaline glands and sex glands. Kaya lumalaki po yung breast ng babae, ang lalaki naman iba, muscles. Also during this time, primary and secondary sexual development develop maturity and mature. We have primary sexual characteristic here. Our organs specifically needed in reproduction like uterus and ovaries, like female, yung sinasabi ko, testes naman sa male. Secondary sexual characteristics are physical signs of sexual maturation do not directly involve sex organs such as development of breast, hips, and girls sa breast, and development of facial hair. Kaya yung mga beard or kumbaga meron tayo ditong hair, pubic hairs like that. Girls experience menarche, the beginning of menstrual period, so nagkakameron ng mens. And sa lalaki naman is sperm mark or first ejaculation. Emerging adulthood naman, we have here emerging adulthood, next stage development. This is the relatively new defined period of lifespan developed spanning 18 years old up to middle 20s. Of course, we move on to the adulthood. Medyo tumanda na. We have your early adulthood and late. Nagiging, yung mga physical development, no? In young adulthood, our physical abilities in their peak, including muscle strength, reaction, sensory, cardiac functioning, and the like. Okay? Sa middle adulthood naman, physically is decline na po. Skin loses, elasticity, wrinkles, the first time yung tumatanda na, between ages 40 to 60, and late adulthood 60 and so on up to 80 until death. So your smell, taste, and hearing vision so sharp in 20s, decline significantly. So kaya po pagkuhan talaga, nadi-decline na po yung taste, smell, no? Iba yung pangamoy. So ito yung mga development tasks from infancy to later maturation, no? So infant ka pa, birth to 6, ito yung nangyayari sa'yo, learn to walk, achieving ganito. Nag-middle childhood na, learning physical skills, building wholesome attitude toward others, learning to get along. Adolescence, accepting one's physique, no? Ganon. So, tingnan mo dyan, no? So, developing conscience, dito yung develop. So, memorize this thing, it's important, no? This is the developmental task. Lalabas siya to sa board exam nyo. Sooner. Developmental task from infancy to later life. No, dito sa 18 na naman. 18 to 35 years, selecting mate, middle age, 36 to 60, later maturity, adjusting to physical adjustment, matanda na, or in later life. Okay, so yun lang po. I believe we learned something in our class, and kindly please study in advance kasi nga mag-exam na po tayo, okay?